Carroll from Team Faith.
This is John. John is a college student, he's majoring in physics, and between studying for the test tomorrow and helping a friend with his project, to be honest, he just didn't have time to vote. After all, millions of people vote. What difference does it make if he doesn't? Fortunately, he's not the only one, and this is why Cleveland's voter turnout is so low. In fact, less than 30% of the Cleveland population votes on a regular basis, and 70% of non-voters have stated that they don't care about politics, and with 15% of registered voters saying that they just don't care.
And that's the reason that they don't vote. That's the 50%.
And then 18 to 24-year-olds are the most likely to not vote or be groups. So our solution is a vote fair. Now, what is a vote fair? A vote fair is essentially just a celebration that happens at the end of the voting, where you go once you're done voting and you give them the I voted for and you get in. There are three main parts of the vote fair. One, some that will order. Since Cleveland, the mayor election is a very local thing, we want to keep everything local, including having local things. And we found a survey because 18 to 24-year-olds are most likely to not vote. A survey said that 18 to 34-year-olds stated that they have been to at least 2 concerts in the past year. So we talked to a few bands, Coffee International, Indre, and Mansion Shores. Only Coffee International got back to us, but they did say that they would perform an event for free if this were to happen. By having bands, it will kind of get the younger people to vote because they go, oh, well, I have to vote to go to this concert thing, so I'll try it.
Yeah, so for venues, we were looking into it and we found Guido Park. Now, it's a public place and sounds like we possibly might be able to get do an event there for free. However, we contacted and they didn't answer, so we left a voicemail. We're still waiting for a response. Is there another one? Okay, and also we have more possibilities. We have a phone call we can make to get an idea of venues that can possibly be free. We just didn't want to make that call because that's more of a last resort. And then for catering, we just want to keep the catering local. We don't really have too much on this because the catering isn't as important as the other parts, although in the end it will be important. But we do know of some catering businesses like the Cafe 56 catering. We know of, I don't know what the catering is called, but Seth Bromberg's catering, the guy who owns Melting Pot, and then some other ones, but we haven't reached out yet because we want to figure everything out.
We don't really want to change either because it does have like a local election and we're trying to keep it respectful.
Okay, so sort of something that's been very popular recently that sort of follows similar models for Rock the Vote. They basically give tools out to independent groups to run these sort of things. It's a little bit different from what we are planning, but it's proof of a concept. It's not as individualized and they come in smaller scale than what we're hoping for, but it's just proof of concept. Additionally, there was a study done, next slide. Additionally, there was a study done that found that when you have the same day voting festival on the same day as voting, it increased voter turnout by 20%. That is 20% of the people who voted. In addition to that, not 20% of the total population. So if there was a population of 50% who voted, it would increase voter turnout by 10%. If there was a population of 10% who voted, it would increase voter turnout by 2%. With Cleveland's average around 25, it would increase it about 5%, which is very significant. It's not like it won't blow anyone's mind. The 5% is like a lot of voters for just posting this, and hopefully that can be done for a relatively low cost. The same study did a cost analysis of voting, and basically they compared prices of what it costed people to go get votes. And what they found was this is one of the cheaper methods to actually get people to vote, and that's without any of the discounts that we're hoping on getting from being a completely local thing. They found the cost of around an average of $25 per vote, and typically the cost per vote is $30. Of course, that isn't perfect, and it's not perfect for your situation. This is not a generic festival. Our festival is very specific to Cleveland, with Cleveland artists and a very specific age group, as we're targeting the same people who would go to concerts, which also tend to be the people who aren't going to vote. So we're very specific with who we're targeting, and we're very specific with who's going to show up. So next steps, keep looking for a venue. As we said, we've contacted Wade Oval. That is typically rented out free of charge, but you do need to reserve it. The issue with that is we don't have a specific date. A lot of the issues with a lot of this is that we don't have a specific date and we don't have a specific avenue, and we're not sure it's going to happen. So it's very hard to get these band and these catering services to actually agree what we're saying without getting these details. But as we hand this off and as this becomes more concrete, it's going to be a lot easier to get people to sign on. Contact Walton Hills, Brittenell, and Cuyahoga Heights and ask them what they've done. They're much smaller than Cleveland, but they ask them what they've done to increase their voter turnout for their mayoral election. They're the only 3 cities in Cuyahoga County with over 50% voting turnout, with Brittenell having 64%, which is the highest in the state. Contact our band and getting a response from Betty Klein. This is just like we're saying, lots of the issues that we have a lot of certainty, which drive a lot of bands away. And venues, again, we need a specific date. Once we get these details ironed out, which we probably need to work with Justin Bibb for, then we can get a lot of these things in.
Thank you.
Tell us when we're allowed to go.
Anytime.
What if democracy could fit in your pocket? What if politicians cared about the glass on your sidewalks or the amount of trees in your neighborhood? What if democracy could work for you?
Did you know that only 1 in 5 eligible Cleveland voters show up at mayoral elections? I'm Nico.
I'm Ethan.
I'm Evelyn.
And I'm Jillian, and we are tasked with increasing voter engagement and or civic engagement.
So let's dive into the problem. So first, let's take a look at some voting demographics. As you can see, as the age groups increase in Cleveland, there is higher voter turnout. So we really want to focus on these younger people that are not voting. And then we also want to focus on a population called dropout voters. So there's a big discrepancy between who votes at federal elections in Cleveland and who votes at the local elections in Cleveland. And that's closer to 50% compared to more like 20%. So over a third of non-voters are dropout voters in Cleveland. And by that same logic, we could over double voter turnout in Cleveland by just getting dropout voters.
So some of the top barriers we found in a study done from 3 cities about drop-off voters was they don't have enough information about their candidates for local elections. That's what 75% of people said. Next was 62% was I don't know enough about local issues, and 40% said there's not enough news coverage of local elections. So we interviewed a mother in Cleveland, and she said, I don't vote in local elections because I don't hear as much about them and they're not as well known.
Okay, our solution. So the concept of our solution is to target younger drop-off voters by creating a website or an app that seeks to engage and inform in a simple manner. Okay, this is what our website looks like. So before we get into it, please text vote CLE to this
You
number.
guys already have it?
Okay, and then we move on to our website. So first we have our homepage, and basically on our homepage it just tells you and gives you a walkthrough about what our website does. Next is candidates.
So this is a page where we have our candidates running an election, and you can click on any of them and get a profile about them, and then a link to their campaign.
Alright, next is the latest news, and so this is news about Cleveland and things that can help with voting in the mayoral election. Next is political alignment.
We created a survey where you can answer, and you can get results based on what you align with most. The candidates.
Next is community comments, and so here's a place where the community can come together and discuss what they think is important for mayoral elections. Next is the calendar.
This is a calendar where we have important events that are happening with the candidates and their campaigns. For example, tomorrow there is a backyard meet and greet for Justin Bibb's campaign.
Next, you go to contact, and here you have all the contact information for candidates. So let's say you wanted to contact Justin Bibb, you click on this, and
It'll ask you for your name, your email address, and whatever message you want to send to them. And at the bottom here, you can click for text alerts.
Yeah, and this is just a page for the text alerts, which we talked about before. You can either text it to the number or put in the number and you'll get signed up.
So let's dig into the data about how successful this website was. We sent out this website to a bunch of people, and after reviewing this website, we asked them, are you more likely to vote in mayoral elections? And 75% of them said that they were more likely after viewing this website, for an average time of only 3 minutes. And then we asked before and after, on a scale of 0 to 10, how informed do you feel about the mayoral election? On average, they started at a 4.62 level of informed, and ended at a 7.75, or a 31% increase on the scale.
So some of the problems, this might seem like an easy solution, but some of the problems with other solutions that are similar to this are they have incomplete websites, which just means they're hard to use, they're not functional. A lot of them take multiple steps, you have to click on multiple links to get to different websites to get to find the information that you want. They're not specific enough to local areas. So there's one called Ballotpedia that's for all of the US, and so you can find information about each candidate, but it's such a wide spread of information that it's hard to use. And others are flawed designs, such as not being able to click on links or apps or websites crashing right when you open them.
So now I would like to talk about hyperlocalism. Hyperlocalism is something that's usually used in news coverage. It's the coverage of small-scale events of suburban life that were once the province of only community newspapers. It's something that businesses use, local news coverage, like we said, and also that can be used for political gain. This is a quote from Phyllis C. Canas, who is the executive director at the American University for Social and Political Science. On our website, we have a place where Ohio City voters can go and talk about the issues that they care the most about. That could be something like policing or the economy, or it could be something like the amount of trees that are in the neighborhood or the glass on the sidewalk. There's also a place for them to go to view hyperlocal news about Ohio City that kind of combines it all together. The future. Let's talk about the future solutions. When we asked Ohio City voter, they said, I'd vote for any candidate willing to put in speed bumps in our neighborhood. So these are some of the other comments that were made, like changing to policing for nonviolent responders, more enforcement of cars that speed in vehicles, like primarily motorcycles that are obnoxious with noise. So one solution is to host meet and greets specific to hyperlocal issues so that those neighborhood residents feel that you care about their neighborhood and their issues. It would look something like this. This would be something for Ohio City, where Justin could talk about speed bumps, littering, motorbike noise, and his big issue, policing.
The concept is to increase voter engagement by aligning mayoral campaign launches with major political events like presidential elections.
So in conclusion, democracy should be accessible to everyone. Cleveland deserves democracy.
Thank you.
Share Up 3 by the Jaguars.
Okay, so in 2020, 50% of the tribes ranked out and registered to vote compared to the 33% of police. So what is our challenge? The challenge is to find ways to help voters turn out inclusive for local elections. This also takes us to our proposal. So our proposal is to have the opportunity to help voters and so-many voters learn the importance of voting in local politics, whether class or interfaith.
Now, what is the importance of local politics? Many people don't understand the importance of local politics, even though that local politics affects you more often than national politics ever will, because local politics affects like when the garbage will be picked up for you and when the snow will be plowed on the road so you can get to work on time. And local governments are also more responsive to voters' voices as well. So what is our plan? We are going to have classes.
Okay, so class number 1 is the class where we focus on voting and local politics for exclusively voting for ages 17 and So more information, so the class will last for about 3 months, 45 to 50 minutes. And the first month will be about approximately voting, then voting rules in Ohio. And then also we'll be teaching the students how to register to vote. And then the second month will be about local politics for each of the Cleveland, when to change, and how they can change it. And the third month will be about why voting in local politics is important and how they spread the word about our voters. Class number 2. The class will focus on voting in political and local politics and spreading the word about why being politically active is important. So this class will also last for about 3 months, 45 to 50 minutes. The first goal is to be about voting on the voting process and fairness rules, because since these people already know like the basics of voting, we just want to like refresh the brain. And then the second 2 weeks will be about focusing. We'll be focusing on why voting is important and how the vote can change Cleveland. And then the second month will be about local politics and the biggest issues in Cleveland. And then also for the third month, we'll be spreading the word about getting people to vote and learning what they have to offer. And then also teaching them how to.
Now, what would we need for this plan? We are going to need space, time, and a reason for doing all of this. So,
Where? Okay, where? So for the people who already know, we plan to have their classes in Justin Bieber's building. I don't know where it is because I was kind of online when it happened. For the high school students, we plan to have classes in their high schools, just so it's less transportation is also, not as time consuming as, oh, we can also come and check it online. How will we do this? We want, we're giving this plan to Justin so he can partner with high schools to have these classes, which, is making the people more mindful to actually getting to know him, getting to know that he has things to offer. These classes, will be for, like we said, how to vote, how to register, like your voter rights and stuff like that. How about to, we also plan to use social media, maybe, we also plan to use social media, spread awareness. People, according to Fruit Research, people ages 18 to 29, 70% of people ages 18 to 29 use social media, so this will be a huge platform that we can use to spread awareness about our plan.
now, why are we doing this? According to Circle Plus, nearly 2/3 of respondents, 64%, have reported being encouraged to vote in high school, while 50% say they were taught how to register to vote. Now, 26% of respondents who were not taught about how to vote in high school responded with the phrase, voting is a waste of time, or some form of variant of that, compared to the 12% of those who were taught saying voting is a waste of time, which is double the amount of people. The data shows that among younger age groups, more than half of those who were taught about the importance of voting found that their voice mattered and were more likely to vote. So with our classes, we want to continue to establish the importance of voting in younger generations and help increase voter turnout for the future.
Thank you for your time and consent.
Remember, youth is the future.
All right.
So, I guess we are over here, and then let's turn on our presentation.
All right, hello. This is the Accessible Voting Challenge by the group.
Democracy is a privilege that many countries do not have. Democracy is a right that people have died for, but in America, democracy is often limited to certain citizens.
Let's begin this presentation with our solution definition. A solution goal is to create a approach to increase voter turnout in local elections by making voting more accessible to the citizens of Cleveland.
All right, our challenges, accessibility.
After some deep analysis, we find out there are 4 categories that's contributing to the cost of people not voting in Cleveland. And then after our detailed thinking, we think that we should probably focus on accessibility for our solution. And then here are some of the details about accessibility.
All right, when we were researching for accessibility, we found 3 main points that we needed to focus on. One was the lack of transportation in Cleveland residents that limited them in getting their polling location. 2 was the date that the election was being held on. It is going to take place on a Tuesday, which means it's a work day, which could cause people to either have to miss work or miss the election. And three, that it is not user-friendly, basically meaning that there are often long lines at certain phone locations when there are none in the recent vicinity to other ones, and you have to wait for up to hours.
Well, let's dig deeper into this. Why did we choose accessibility?
So here are the 4 top reasons of why we chose accessibility as one of the solution focus. First is that the solution of accessibility is much feasible to implement than anything else. And then the solution will be very effective if fixed accessibility. And also in Cleveland, Ohio, there's a lack of transportation. And there's also many disabled residents in Cleveland, and we are trying to make their role matter.
Alright, so here's some data on accessibility in Cleveland. 16.3% of Cleveland residents have a type of disability. 3.9% of them do not own a car. 5.8% of them bike, walk, or rely on public transportation. And 22.7% of them only have one vehicle.
So here's our solution.
Our solution to fix the problem in the way of accessibility is implement the approach of the mobile voting unit, which is stands for MVU. And the MVU is a vehicle that allows voters to cast ballots in specific locations and dates that have been predetermined by the local government, which makes voting very convenient. And according to the data that we have found out, our approach of using the MVU can improve voter turnout by about 7.35%. And here's our calculation from both census.gov and other reliable sources for the percentage growth.
And this will basically get over 28,000 more votes in Cleveland.
And our solution of using the mobile voting unit can improve the voter turnout rate by a maximum of 10.49%. And this data is coming from the census.gov and other reliable sources.
This 10.49% basically equates to around 40,000 new voters. This would be, from what we found, from a 13% voter turnout rate to a 20 to 23% voter turnout rate.
As one more evidence, according to Fulton County, which is where the mobile voting unit was first implemented, the government official website saying that the voting turnout has increased by 9.03% after implementing the mobile voting unit.
And here's a quote talking about how well the MVU worked and how it positively affected their life.
And this quote is from the Fulton County, one of the voting residents. And you might be wondering, how do you set up a mobile voting unit? A mobile voting unit's restriction and basic costs are almost the same as any other voting station, but there are the other extra costs.
So here's the extra equipment you will need. So first of all, you will need a tractor trailer to fit all of the voter booths inside, which will come at a cost around $8,000 to $10,000 if you buy a used one. Then you will need a semi-truck to drive it, which will cost around $40,000 to $50,000. And then finally, you'll need someone to drive it, and that person needs to have a license to drive semi-trucks.
Alright, and here's how you want the staff to look. Alright, we want one of the staff to scan the codes and their voter IDs, basically make sure that the voters are eligible to vote in a voting machine. Alright, and we want the second person who will also be driving the truck to overlook the voting process and make sure it is safe and secure. And we want the third person to hand out stickers when people finish voting and democracy passport. Alright, now you may be wondering, what is a democracy passport? A democracy passport is a passport-sized handout that people will be given after they finish voting that will basically inform them on why their vote matters, what their vote can affect, and what their elected officials can affect. And they will be encouraged to give these people that they have known not to vote in local elections.
So let's let the citizens have their voice. The MVU will finally allow citizens to vote with ease.
And here's the end of our presentation. Does anyone have any question about the approach of the MVU? And here are 20% of our slides.